Hello and welcome to Rise Unwind. My name is Dan. You know, each and every week I try to talk to people from across the country about things you could do in your neighborhood. And on this week's show, we got this.
But it was really fun to play someone who's just devoid of any fear. It was a little liberating. Not to say I condone bad behavior.
At some point, you know, betrayal will happen, and it's intense. You know, you get close with a lot of people. And that can, you know, it's like I said, for me, it was actually a really emotional experience.
That's such a hard question to answer. I mean, when I was 19 and getting paid to run around on the beach, that was not a bad gig, you know?
I feel physically ready, mentally ready. Like it helps every time I go to get on.
All of that and more right here in Rise and Unwind. So what happens when you load a cruise ship with Christmas superfans, a few Hallmark heartthrobs, and more fake snow than the Bahamas has ever seen? You get Christmas at Sea, a brand new docu-series that set sail during Hallmark's 13th annual Christmas in July celebration. You know, this four-part series follows real-life fans living out their holiday dreams on the first ever Hallmark Christmas cruise, complete with carol-oke, surprise proposals, ATV rides, and maybe a little matchmaking made on the seven seas. Joining us today are three of the stars helping to make all that happen. Taylor Cole, Andrew Walker, and Wes Brown. Welcome to the show, you three. How are you?
Great. How are you? How are you? Thanks for having
I'm
us.
doing okay. I'm not stuck out at sea. It's not Christmas time. All right. I guess you guys are doing better than me. You've all starred in plenty of Hallmark Christmas movies, but this time you're on a real-life cruise with real-life superfans. What made Christmas at Sea feel a little different?
This was a fan interaction that we have never got to experience. The level of connection and emotion and genuine storytelling and sharing with each other was unlike anything we've ever experienced. So to get the chance to document it was awesome. And I'm just glad that we got to be a part of it.
Yeah.
And there's some really personal moments in the series, like a surprise proposal. I don't want to give it all away. Maybe a script pitch or two, a couple of grandmas celebrating their grandson. Was there any particular story that stuck with you?
Well, I think the people going through some health issues, obviously, because that's pretty extreme. It's life or death, and they've come out on the other end. And I think that and it's made them want to do something momentous in their life. Make a decision that they've always wanted to do, but they never really thought was the right time. And so I think some of those stories, and there was a few within the 5 storylines, those were the ones that really impacted me, I think, the most. Yeah.
And we hear there was a Finding Mr. Shipmas competition and pretty much a full-on Christmas tree lighting ceremony. What were the most memorable cruise events to let's just say for each of you?
I mean, this is for sure by far the most memorable cruise I've ever taken in my life. And I think the most impactful or memorable moment for me was just walking out on stage at the celebration, the initial reveal of all of the talent, and to see what kind of reaction we got when we walked out on stage was incredibly breathtaking. I've never had that kind of feeling like a rock star. I felt like
So much joy, so much love. It was overwhelming. It really was beautiful.
For me, it was towards the end of the cruise. We worked with a lot of talented actors. Here are 2 of them right there, but we had a part where we did a complete ad lib where we had one of our writers write about a 7-page, it was almost like a poem, and I got to read it, and then our actors got to act it out in front of a huge live audience. And that was just, I barely got through it because I was trying to watch them do their thing. But there was so much stuff, and that's just one of them. That's just one of many, and I think the fans just absolutely loved it.
Andrew, you and Paul helped someone plan a proposal at sea. How did you guys manage to hold together with all those emotions and everything else going around?
Well, that was one of the storylines that I was talking about. She'd gone through a major surgery and came out on the other end. So it was so, we were so vulnerable. It was such a vulnerable moment for all of us. And I think that's the beauty of a lot of these storylines, is that you're seeing real, genuine emotion. This isn't scripted. This is happening in the moment. And I think that we were caught off guard with how emotional it made us feel and tap into, things that we haven't felt in a long time. So to feel that empathy, for what these people have gone through, and to support them along the way, and to maybe fulfill a dream that they've had or something they've always wanted to do, they just didn't have the right forum to do it in, was incredibly rewarding and humbling.
And Hallmark fans are really a loyal group. My mom is one of them. And this docuseries kind of shows the connection between stars and their audience. And what did it mean to kind of celebrate that bond, especially in such an over-the-top, maybe silly, joyful way?
I mean, when you watch a Christmas Hallmark movie, it brings all of the feelings, all of the love, all of the joy. And really, they're not just watching the Hallmark movies, they live them. So you feel it in person. So it's beautiful.
All right, thank you, Thuri, for joining me this morning. Don't miss Christmas at Sea. It's a 4-part docuseries that's coming into your home this summer. It premieres July 7th at 8 p.m. Eastern on Hallmark Channel, and it streams the next day on Hallmark Plus. Perfect for anyone who thinks Christmas could happen or should happen more than once a year. Hey, thank you, Thuri, for joining me this morning.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Have a great day.
Ever wonder what it would look like if your favorite assassin showed up to a missing persons case with zero fear, a leather jacket, and enough charm to make you forget she's, well, lethal? You might know her from Cowboy Bebop, Jurassic World, or The Detour, but in The Accountant 2, Daniella Pineda is stepping into a whole new world of secrets, strategy, and survival. Welcome to the show, Daniella. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for asking. Well, it looks like you open up the film with a bang, literally. In that tavern scene with J.K. Simmons, How did you tap into Nias's cold confidence from the start?
It was something that I found in the audition process. I read the sides, which are like the scene they give you for the audition, and I didn't know anything about it. They don't tell you anything. I mean, you don't know anything until like 2 weeks after you've booked the part. Like, I got access to the script, so I really was in the dark. But I made an educated guess that this was someone who was a little scary and supposed to be intimidating. And so when I was auditioning, I worked with this guy named Tyler Rice, and he just kept saying, let's make her more still. Make her more still. Don't blink. Can you do this scene and not blink? And I was just like, holy, this is so different for me. Because everything I've done before has been kind of animated or silly or, whatnot. So this was like a major, major departure from that. It was basically a good character study on how to be scary, which is not a lot of movement.
All right, and there's also like this line in the notes about Nias being relaxed and chill, even in chaos. Was that fun to play, or was it like really difficult to find the balance of being calm and also a psycho killer?
Oh, it was really fun. It was super fun. Actually, while I was shooting that scene, I was reading this book just totally by chance called Sociopath, a memoir, which I recommend to everybody. It was absolutely fascinating and also like very educational about people who have that disorder or that diagnosis. But it was really fun to play someone who's just devoid of any fear. It was a little liberating. Not to say I condone bad behavior. I'm a huge empath and a cuddle bug, but it was kind of liberating and fun.
And there's also a huge undercurrent of mystery for your character. Without spoiling anything, I know a lot unfolds throughout the film, but what should audiences be watching for her in this storyline?
I think they should just be watching her and paying attention. This is also a movie I want to say is not something you go and watch at home. I mean, yes, it will be available streaming at home, but it really is meant for the theater. Like, you can't be on your phone playing Tetris and then half watching the movie because you're going to miss it. So this is definitely a pay attention type film. But I would just say watch her because you're probably going to see her again.
I want to thank you for joining me this morning. You got to check out The Accountant 2. It's in theaters now. Thanks for joining me, Daniella.
Thank you so much.
What does it take to stare down a 1-ton bull and hold your ground 8 seconds at a time? In Not Her First Rodeo, we follow the real lives of elite lady bull riders, women who are rewriting the rules of rodeo and risking it all for the win. As the heart of it is 4-time world champion Jorden Halvorsen, who's not just riding, she's basically leading a movement. She's here today to talk about the new docuseries, The Grit It Takes to Make It, and why this really isn't her first rodeo. Welcome to the show, Jorden. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Rodeo has always fascinated me, and actually, I have my own belt buckle. I did ride a bull once. I fell off in the first few seconds. So this is basically a participation trophy for bull riding. So, hey, you're a 4-time world champion. Can you take us back to the beginning, like the days that you first started out? What made you get into the bull in the first place?
You know, like it honestly for me started by chance. I grew up riding hunter jumper horses, a little bit wild, a little bit smaller than some of the other riders. So I was actually riding naughty horses and ponies. And we had a buddy that said, "Hey, what do you think about riding a bull?" And I obviously said yes. And yeah, same thing. I fell off very fast the first time, but it was just more of a bucket list thing for me. And that's how I started. And I was hooked and kept going back week after week after that.
Yeah, I told the guy, how do I get a buckle? And he's like, well, you have to ride a bull. I was like, come on, man. I was trying to like catch a greased pig, go like lasso a sheep or something. Because I grew up in ranches and stuff with my family. So they stuck me on a bull. He's like, if you get on this bull in a rodeo, we'll give you a buckle. So they did this whole participation trophy thing. So I get it. I love it. This show really captures the risk and realities of the sport. What do you hope viewers take away from watching your story?
I hope they take away that, you know, you can do anything in life. You know, don't be afraid to follow your dreams, you know, push through any kind of boundaries there are and just live a life that you want to live. And
you also started your own all-women's bull riding league. What inspired that and how has that actually grown?
So they actually used to have women's rough stock riding events in rodeo, you know, a long time ago, early 2000s and prior to that. And so when I had learned about that several years after I started riding, you know, we had been kind of working towards bringing that back that they used to have for women to be able to compete against other women in the sport of bull riding.
And how do you go about mentally preparing doing bull riding each time? I was scared as hell, but how do you go about doing it because you know what's at stake?
You know, I just think about the challenge, think about what I've got to work through. And for me, all the preparation that goes in beforehand helps me mentally. If I feel physically ready, mentally ready, like it helps every time I go to get on.
And the show also highlights, it's not just a sport, but kind of like a sisterhood. What has the community of women in bull riding meant to you?
You know, we all have our different struggles and you can always learn something from another woman, whatever they're going through. And, you know, whether that be in our riding or in our everyday life, you know, we've just learned to, you know, help each other out and grow as we grow in this sport.
Jorden Halvorsen, thanks for joining me this morning. You got to catch Not Her First Rodeo. It's a new 6-part docuseries from ABC News Studios, premiering on Freeform with 2 back-to-back episodes. Then you can binge the whole full series starting Friday, June 6th on Hulu. Thanks for joining me this morning, Jorden.
Thanks for having me.
Have you ever dreamed of high-speed getaways, dusty back roads, and that 1970s crime world where danger is just a pit stop away? You know, Max's new series, Duster, might be your next obsession. From Emmy winner J.J. Abrams and showrunner LaToya Morgan, Duster stars Josh Holloway as a getaway driver trying to outrun his past, and Rachel Hilson, a trailblazing FBI agent who's got her sights on taking down the dangerous crime syndicate. And come on, man, we got them both here to talk all about it. Welcome to the show, you two.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, Josh, you play a getaway driver in the 1970s, Southwest. What kind of drew you to this role, and what makes Duster different than some of the other crime dramas out there?
Wow, everything drew me to this role. First of all, it was JJ and LaToya Morgan, and I was like, that's incredible on its own. It's such a rich era to explore the 70s, just with fashion and music and cars and everything. It was just a dream come true to get a phone call like this. I'm like, absolutely, I'm in 100%.
And Rachel, your character is an FBI agent in the 70s. What kind of preparation or mindset did it take to try to bring Nina to life?
Yeah, it did take some prep. I had the opportunity to speak to several former agents, a couple of which were Black women who joined in the early 80s. So getting their insights was invaluable. I read a bunch of books. I watched a bunch of movies, read all about Nixon and, the Panthers just before and their conflicts with the FBI and the Black community's conflicts with the FBI, and just sort of tried to get a well-rounded picture of where I was coming from and where I was in 1972. Yeah.
And there's a heck of a lot of grit and style in the show. What kind of world are viewers stepping into when they pretty much hit play on this?
Wow. It's kind of like a modern Western. It feels like it's like this. The desert is a character in itself. The car moves you between scenes. So it's got this high octane driven pace. And then it's so character driven. You never know what character you're going to run into. So it's just like that. It's like a Pulp Fiction, lock, stock, two smoking barrels type adventure.
Yeah. There was something that JJ said, I think a couple weeks ago that was like, it's sort of like what a show that was made in the 70s would look like if, it was just elevated a little more.
If it was done good.
If it was done well.
Josh, Rachel, thanks for joining me this morning. Duster is streaming now on Max with new episodes dropping every Thursday through July 3rd. So check it out at max.com or search Duster on your Max app to start watching. Josh, Rachel, thanks for joining me this morning, my friends.
Thank you, Dan.
Do you ever wonder what it's like to travel across Europe without knowing where you actually are? It's kind of a weird question. NBC's Destination X drops blindfolded contestants into a high-stakes, high-confusion game of trust, strategy, and pretty much pure guesswork. Joining me today is Peter Weber. Yep, Pilot Pete himself, who's no stranger to reality TV drama after The Bachelor and The Traitors. Now he's trading roses for riddles on the ultimate geo-guessing game board. Welcome to the show, Peter. How are you?
I'm so good, man. It's so good to be here with you. Super stoked to have this whole adventure play out.
All right, you've been through The Bachelor, The Traitors, and now it's Destination X. Like, what made you say yes to like hopping on a bus with strangers that have zero GPS?
I think very blessed. A lot of the opportunities I've had, but I think this was the one that I think I was made for the most. The second I heard about this, it was an immediate yes for me. Just the nature of me, my career, obviously, and the passion I've always had for traveling and seeing this world. This was just the most insane experience. And I can truly say it was the greatest thing I've ever done in my entire life. The most rewarding, the most beautiful experience, the most difficult experience as well. It was like I said, an immediate yes, and so stoked that I did it.
So what makes you say that it's like the greatest experience that you've ever done?
There were so many moments throughout this game that I truly, again, your senses are deprived, right? So when you are out and about and you actually have, your mask off, you're not in the bus, it's moments that you have to take extreme advantage of. And there was just a bunch of those where I remember looking around and like it almost like gets me like emotional talking about it, because it was one of the most beautiful sceneries that I've ever encountered, and like the things that we get to do in these places, you could never imagine it in your wildest dreams. So being able to just check off a lot of the locations that I haven't been to, some that I had been to, but some that I hadn't as well, was incredible. And just a lot of just awe moments, just epic is, I think, the best way to describe it. And it's going to be really cool to watch it back.
And with your aviation background, you probably know your way around like a map, probably better than most of the people. Did that give you an edge, or did the game, just how they have the rules, just throw you off?
Well, what map are you talking about? We didn't get any maps on this. That was... it would have been nice to have that. Listen, I did a little bit of prep, obviously, and tried to dig into my toolbox, just from experience of flying. It came into play a little bit. I would say, the times that it did help me, I tried to, use some like celestial navigation for trying to pinpoint at least my latitude of where I was in Europe. But again, with that, You have to have clear skies. You have to be able to be outside at night, and you have to be able to, have a shot at the North Star. So it wasn't always available. There was a couple times where I was able to recognize some departure corridors from airplanes taking off in places I had been, which was very lucky on my behalf. But I was fortunate enough to be able to take advantage of that. Other than that, though, it was a lot of alliances, and it was a lot of just being as observant as possible, and just trying to decipher what's true and what's not. Because the whole thing about this game is, yes, you're getting information, but it's not always accurate, and so you don't know if it's throwing you off, if it's a red herring, or if it's actually leading you to the correct destination. So just the ultimate guessing game. I tried to use my skills as best I could, and it was a blast.
You say it's a guessing game. You say it's about alliances. What about the mind games and like the survival? How did you approach the strategy side of all this?
Ton of strategy. Listen, ton of betrayal. That's the nature of this game. You can work with someone, so long, right? But at the end, there can only be one winner. It's not like, Traders. It was a little bit different of a format where you could work as a group and win as a group. Well, here it turns that on its head. So at some point, betrayal will happen, and it's intense. You get close with a lot of people, and that can, it's like I said, for me, it was actually a really emotional experience. It really was, and I wasn't quite expecting that, but just from the awe factor of it and being able to see so many unique parts of this beautiful world to the personal, relationship aspect of it too, and putting trust in someone, and then either having to break that trust or have that trust broken with you. It's a tough thing to navigate. So definitely have to have some mental fortitude to make it in this game and be successful. And I would say, the majority, if not all the players, definitely had that. The casting did a great job of picking the right players.
Peter Weber, thanks for joining me this morning. Catch Peter Weber and the rest of the crew every Tuesday night at 10 Eastern on NBC, and stream the episodes the very next day on Peacock. Thanks for joining me this morning, Peter.
Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.
Do you remember Tic-Tac-Dough? Well, it's back. And this time there's a twist and a dragon. The classic game show has been reimagined for a new generation with Emmy-nominated host Brooke Burns leading the charge. You know her from The Chase, Masterminds, Dog Eat Dog, and yeah, she also survived Baywatch. Brooke's here to tell you how, what's new with this nostalgic, and what's new, and what's it like dodging dragons in prime time. Welcome to the show, Brooke. How are you, my friend?
Thank you so much. I'm great. Thank you so much for having me. I am always dodging a beast or a dragon or something. How do I get myself into these situations, right? Yes, I survived the cold waters of Baywatch as well. I'm a survivor. What can I say?
You got this. You got this. All right. Tic-Tac-Dough. Yeah. It's new. It's with a dragon. Where did this idea come from?
So obviously, game shows seem to have this sort of timeless appeal. And I think Tic-Tac-Dough is the same way. It's been around for so many decades, on air, off air. Obviously, Chuck Berry hosted it, Wink Martindale, who we recently lost. And so when GSN came to me and said, we're going to be doing a reboot of this, playing tic-tac-toe as a child was so much fun. It's the first game that you ever learn. And then adding the trivia element, I feel very comfortable with. And then the adorable little virtual dragon, who is not as frightening as Beastie, was also part of the appeal. I just think it's like every game show that you can come and you can watch and you can either just check out and enjoy and be entertained, or you can play along. And it doesn't matter if you're with your grandma or your kids or whatever. And it was just fun. I just really wanted to come on and have something to offer people again, where you can just come and enjoy yourself and, have your community around you. And it starts that conversation. And of course, if you're competitive, maybe a little bit of that fun, jabbing competitiveness that you can play with your family.
I was just showing my producer here photos of me and Wink Martindale from 2013. I did some promos with him.
Can I see one?
I'm dressed up. I'll show him now. I'm dressed up like a bellhop. Me and Wink are hanging out on set. So we did some promos together for real. So it was cool working with him. Amazing. Did you ever get to meet him or work with him in the past? Or?
I did. He actually came to the set of The Chase, and I was so excited and honored that he came. And when he came out on stage and we were hanging out and speaking and stuff, I just really, when you have he has that true essence, that true authenticity where you're like, of course he's a game show. He's like everybody's best friend. You know, you just feel like you could reach through the TV and you knew him, like you could have him over to your house and have a cup of coffee. That's exactly how he is. And he was just so gracious, kind. And I only wish that somebody could have said right then, hey, Wink, she's going to be hosting Tic-Tac-Dough in 10 years. And then us had that moment to share together.
I would say that you have some big shoes to fill because it is Wink Martindale, but I've seen your work. You're amazing. You do really good stuff. You're very funny. You're charming. Yeah, you bring to the table a lot of good hosting skills. So I'm not just trying to say you got big shoes to fill. I think they found the right person to fill those shoes automatically.
So much. I am going to try and honor him with this.
So how does hosting this compare to some of the other stuff that you have done in the past?
Good question. They're all a little bit different in their own way, but this one was really, I think, a more intimate set for me just because there's only 2 contestants. So I love people and I feel like I got to spend a little more time with the contestants, which I really enjoyed. And not so much pressure. The Beastie's not breathing down my neck. The speed rounds are not really about me being perfect and fast, more about can they, get away from the dragon. So I just really enjoyed myself. I kind of felt like I could let my hair down on this one a little bit. And I think it shows.
And you've had a pretty cool career, like from acting to hosting. And what's your favorite gig? Does anything come to light, or does this top the list, I guess?
That's such a hard question to answer. I mean, when I was 19 and getting paid to run around on the beach, that was not a bad gig, I get paid to do that. So I love those days. Hosting my very first show, Dog Eat Dog, was a real joy of mine just because I love competition. And I think that's where I fell in love with game and reality and hosting in and of itself. And so that leading, to all of these other shows, I'm obviously incredibly proud of The Chase. Working with Beastie and getting nominated for an Emmy for that was pretty exciting. I brought my mom and dad out to come to the Emmys with me. And so, I think it's just all of them really, because I think if I asked my 10-year-old self, I thought I was going to be a ballet teacher and have 6 kids and never leave Texas. So I just love what I get to do. And especially now if I'm flying on an airplane and somebody asks me like, what do you do for a living? There's no better answer than I'm a game show host. People can't believe it. They're like, is that a joke? I'm like, no, it's for real.
How good are you at trivia? Have you absorbed any of this, or is it?
Oh my gosh, I thought you were asking like if I would ask those people. Yes, I ask people trivia all day in my everyday life. No, I'm not great at trivia. I feel like under pressure, I totally panic. And if somebody asked me my daughter's middle name, that I would be like, oh, buzzer.
I'm in the same boat. I can't come up with names. I can't come up with words, but I'm great at trivia because all of a sudden my brain will find it. But there are those moments that I know exactly what I'm talking about and I just can't find the words. But all right.
I've had those few moments where something pops into my head and Beastie doesn't know it, then I feel really good about myself.
When you battle the Beastie and win, I love it. That's a bar to beat. All right, absolutely. You can check out Tic-Tac-Dough. It's weeknights at 7 on Game Show Network. Brooke Burns, thanks for hanging out with me.
Thank you so much.
That's it for Rise Unwind. I want to thank you for tuning in and checking out the show. Follow us on YouTube at Rise Unwind TV. And until next week, that was Rise and Unwind.